I went on a cross-country bike trip with my best friend and came back alone. It all started as a joke. One night after a couple of beers, Max, my best friend since middle school, said, "We should do something legendary before we turn 30. I laughed and threw out the first thing that came to mind. "How about we ride bikes across the country?" Except he said, "Yes." 3 months later, we were pedaling out of Seattle on loaded touring bikes heading for New York. 2 tents, 2 sets of panniers, and way too much optimism. The first week was everything we hoped for: sunsets over wheat fields, friendly truck stop conversations, and the satisfying ache in our legs that made every meal taste better. We'd camp, cook over a tiny stove, swap dumb stories by headlamp light. It was like being kids again, only this time we were out in the real world. We had a rule: no phones except for navigation and emergency calls. The goal was to disconnect and be present. I didn't mind Max, though. I caught him sneaking texts more than once. Usually I didn't say anything, but it started bothering me. On the 10th day, we were in Idaho, near Twin Falls. It was a brutal uphill day, and I noticed Max lagging behind more than usual. When I stopped at the summit to wait, he didn't come. I waited 20 minutes, then 30. When I finally turned around and biked downhill, he wasn't on the road. Just gone. His bike was gone. His gear. Everything. At first I thought maybe he'd gotten hurt and someone had picked him up. But my calls went straight to voicemail. That night I slept alone under the stars for the first time in 10 years, and something felt very, very off. The next morning, I retraced our route. I even stopped at a small diner we passed the day before, asking if anyone had seen a guy with a blue Cannondale and messy blonde hair. "Yeah," the waitress said. "Came in alone yesterday afternoon. Looked exhausted. He was on the phone the whole time, pacing outside." That hit me. We had a rule: no phones except emergencies. What kind of emergency was he having? I left my number with her just in case, and rode back to our last known campsite. His tent was gone. So were his bags. There wasn't a single sign of struggle, just my tire tracks and a piece of plastic wrap from a protein bar. I kept trying his number, but it was still off. By the afternoon, I called his sister, Erin. She hadn't heard from him since the day before we left. No texts, nothing. She paused. "Actually, yeah. He texted me, 'Don't tell him,' 2 nights ago. That was weird. I thought maybe it was about a surprise or something. I felt my stomach turn. 'Don't tell me what?' 'Hey,' she added quickly. 'Max has always had secrets. Maybe it's nothing.' But I knew Max. I'd known him longer than anyone. He was secretive when it came to his parents' divorce, sure. He didn't like talking feelings. But this? Going off-grid in the middle of Idaho? Not him. I didn't want to, but I reported him missing to the local police. They asked the basics. When was the last time I saw him? Was he under stress? Did he have any history of mental illness or drug use? No, I said. None of that. We were just doing a trip. They promised to follow up. I didn't believe them. That night I checked into a cheap motel. I kept looking at our old photos on my phone. High school. Camping. The time we crashed our bikes into a bush trying to chase a raccoon. And then, like a punch to the gut, I noticed something. In a photo I'd taken 2 days before he vanished, Max had a manila envelope in the side pocket of his pannier. It was sticking out. I hadn't seen it in any other photos, and it definitely wasn't with him when he left. I didn't sleep. In the morning, I messaged Erin again. "Does the name H.G. Wilcox mean anything to you?" She replied instantly. "Holy saint. Where did you see that name?" That was when I realized Max wasn't just hiding from me. He was running from something, and I had no idea what I'd gotten myself into. I called Erin. "What do you mean? Where did I see that name?" she asked, her voice sharp, like I'd poked a bruise. "I saw it written on an envelope in Max's pannier, 2 days before he vanished." I zoomed in on an old photo. "Why?" She hesitated. "You really didn't know?" "No." A long pause. "Wilcox was our mom's lawyer, from when she filed the malpractice lawsuit against Dad." My breath caught. "Malpractice? I thought your dad was a dentist." "He was," she said, "but Max always said he was hiding something. Something big. Our mom used to say the case was sealed. Gag orders. Then she died in a car crash 3 years ago. After that, Max started digging." "Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because it wasn't my obsession. It was his." I felt like the ground was shifting under me. I thought this trip was about nostalgia, about freedom. For Max, it had apparently been a mission, and he didn't tell me. I opened my Photos app and scrolled obsessively. The envelope was gone the next day in the next photo. Had he dropped it off somewhere? Or was it the reason he left? I called the Twin Falls police again, asked if they had any updates. They didn't. I decided to keep riding not east toward New York, but north, toward Boise. That was the last place I saw Max use his GPS. He had rerouted without telling me, and I had no idea why. I followed the last saved route on my own device, praying for answers. In a tiny town called Bliss, ironically named, I stopped at a gas station to grab water. I was paying when I heard a familiar voice behind me. That's him. I turned. A guy in a flannel shirt and aviators was pointing straight at me, talking to the cashier. I didn't know him. Sorry, do we? He stepped closer. You were with the blonde guy, right? The one who asked about Wilcox? Everything in me froze. Yes, why? The man didn't smile. He left something here. He told me to give it to the guy who looks confused. He walked to the back of the shop and came back holding a different envelope, sealed in tape with my name on it. Just to leave him open only if I disappear. I didn't even wait to get back outside. I tore it open. Inside was a flash drive and a note. If you're reading this, I either found what I was looking for or someone didn't want me to. Whatever happens, don't go to the police again. They're not clean. Find Wilcox's son. His name is Matthew. He lives in Boulder. Trust no one else. That was the moment I realized. This wasn't just a missing persons case anymore. This was a goddamn conspiracy. And I was in the middle of it. I didn't open the flash drive in public. My gut said not to. I rode 20 miles out of Bliss and found a library in a town called Fairfield, one of those quiet rural places with more deer than people. The librarian was an older woman with Coke bottle glasses. Public computers? I asked. Over there, sugar, she said, waving me toward a dusty corner. I plugged in the flash drive. No password. Inside, a single folder labeled Dentist Records 710 and a video file named WatchThisFirst.np. I clicked play. Max's face appeared. I zoomed. He looked tired, eyes red, voice tight. If you're seeing this, Liam, it means I screwed up. I'm sorry I didn't tell you the full story. I didn't want to drag you into it, but I guess that didn't work. You probably think this was about the trip. It wasn't. I needed an excuse to get across the country without anyone noticing. I needed you, honestly, to make it look casual. I'm sorry for using you like that. I clenched my jaw. That part stung. My dad, he wasn't just a dentist. He was working with a group. They performed unauthorized procedures on low-income patients, mostly undocumented immigrants. He got rich off it. Real rich. But Mom found out, and she tried to stop it. He paused. Then her brakes failed. I felt cold. The Wilcox name is bigger than we thought. H.G. Wilcox was the fixer, the cleaner. I found a lead on his son, Matthew. He's the weak link. I'm heading there now. If I go dark, it's not an accident. The screen cut out. I opened the folder. It was full of PDFs, dental records, x-rays, scanned insurance claims, and patient names. Dozens of them. All flagged with things like extraction performed without consent, sedation without anesthesiologist, billed, never treated. One of the names caught my eye. Camila Gutierrez, age 9, her record said. Multiple extractions, but her insurance claim listed routine cleaning. It made me sick. Who the hell would do this? I left the library before sunset. I was shaking. That envelope wasn't just a message, it was evidence. Serious evidence. And Max, he had been willing to risk everything to get it. The next stop was Boulder, Colorado, a 2-day ride if I pushed hard. I wasn't ready, but I had to go. Max trusted me with this. Still, I had one question screaming in my head the whole way. If Max made it to Boulder, where the hell was he now? I reached Boulder 3 days later, sunburned and sore. I hadn't told anyone where I was going. No social posts. No messages to Aaron. If Max was right, and I was starting to believe he was someone could be watching. I had one name. Matthew Wilcox. I searched online and found 6 in Boulder. Only one had an address listed. I took a gamble. It was a small brownstone tucked near the university. I parked my bike 2 blocks away and walked. My heart pounded with every step. I knocked. A man in his early 40s opened the door. Thin, pale, with anxious eyes behind wireframe glasses. Eyes? He asked, cautious. I took a breath. I'm looking for Max. Max Reynolds. He came through here a few days ago. He told me to find you. His face fell. He looked over his shoulder, then stepped outside, pulling the door almost closed behind him. "He shouldn't be here," he whispered. "They followed him." My blood froze. I tried to help, but he was too loud. He recorded everything. They knew he had the files. "Where is he?" Matthew glanced down the street. "I don't know. They took him. I got a text. He said he'd try to escape. Told me to burn everything. I didn't. I couldn't." He reached into his coat and pulled out a second flash drive. "Take this. Go to the press. Not the police. Not lawyers. Find someone who'll listen." I left Boulder that night on a Greyhound. I didn't sleep. When I got back home, I didn't go to my apartment. I went straight to the office of a local investigative journalist named Tasha Granger. She'd broken a medical fraud scandal last year. I'd followed her work. I showed her everything, the files, the video, Max's last message. She listened, quiet and focused. When it ended, she looked at me and said, "Well, publish. But you need to be ready." For what? For people trying to shut us up. The article dropped 3 weeks later. It exploded. Max's father was arrested. So was a handful of other doctors in the same clinic. The malpractice settlements reached into the millions. Immigrant rights groups used the story to fuel policy change. But Max was never found. They never found a body. Never confirmed if he was dead, or hiding, or something in between. His sister, Erin, still messages me sometimes. If he's out there, he's probably watching. He knows what you did. I like to think so. I kept his bike in my garage, still covered in dust and Idaho mud. Maybe one day, he'll come pick it up. If you like this video, please subscribe for more.